It's a pleasure to be here. Girls' School. So fitting for the theme. So as Reefa said, I'm Bethanie Marden. I'm the Marketing Director at Rocket Mill. We're a digital marketing agency here in Brighton. Although I see myself really as an investigative journalist because my role is to take the best of us, our work and our people, and magnify it onto our target audience to win our agency clients. So the minute I hear something, I turn it into news, and that comes to life in the form of case studies, awards submissions, thought leadership content, social content events, speaker opportunities, just like this one, and loads more besides. And in the humblest of ways, it's working very well for us. We're winning awards, we're growing, we're recruiting at the moment. Our Glassdoor rating is 5 out of 5. We've gone from partnering with only SMEs to also partnering with blue chips like Dropbox, Bauer Media and Kimberly-Clark. We're hitting our business KPIs, the business is getting bigger. Life in the fast lane is pretty good. But, to quote one of my most favourite feminists, Maya Angelou, if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. So let's look back at how I've got where I've got. But first of all, I think I've got to mention this. Let's get the woman thing out of the way. We all know that we've faced inequality for a long time, still do. We all know for centuries there's been opposition to women being heard. Centuries. And yes, there's a time to change laws and demand change, but there should also be a time to focus on you. And that's why we're here tonight. So my aim isn't to diagnose the problem. It's instead to empower women to create our own opportunities and use the voice we've always had. So tonight I'm going to take you through 4 personal moments in my life that I feel have defined me and have helped me use my voice. And it's really not about finding your voice, you've already got one. It's about how to use it. So these 4 short stories, if you will, have morals to them, and they all lead to one thing: how to believe in yourself. Might sound a bit cheesy, but I believe that's where we start. So, are you sitting comfortably? Let's begin. Short story 1, the Bronx. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, not that far actually, central England to be exact, there was a little girl who was an introverted extrovert, further complicated by being an imperfect perfectionist. I grew up on a council estate where life rivaled an EastEnders script. The area was affectionately called the Bronx because of all the naughty things going on. But all jokes aside, criminal offences were a daily occurrence. Knife crime wasn't a statistic, it was your neighbour's last argument. Going to the shops wasn't an opportunity to buy oat milk. It was a time you feared for your life because gang crime was rife. I remember my mum crying because we were so poor she couldn't afford to feed my sister and I. But of course she always found a way. But in our little cul-de-sac, every house was occupied by single parents, by women, and we all stood together and had each other's backs, whether it was a shoulder to cry on, food, childcare. We supported each other, and that shaped and sculpted my life, my beliefs, my attitudes ever since. This is how I know women are stronger together. My mum, my sister and I chose to be influenced by our backgrounds and our surroundings in a positive way. I choose to use those experiences to strengthen my spirit. My disadvantages give me backbone. They give me fire, they give me grit. And this was a choice, and you can choose to. Short story 2, the girl with no voice. This girl who has a stepdad who looks a little bit like Sylvester Stallone, and he always got that, not so much these days, bless him. I could never resist playing up to the camera, I still can't. And I was always inquisitive and wanting to explore as well. My mum reminded me of a story when we went on holiday to Hunstanton, and I was 2 years old. We were sat in a Chinese restaurant. I just decided I was bored. So I got up from the table, walked out the door, and started walking down the street. And it was only because my sister knew that I had a red hood on my jacket that she noticed me in the crowd walking nonchalantly away. I was bored, got up, left. 2. I've not changed that much now, I have to say. I was also very pioneering from a young age. I remember being given a large bag of sample-sized foundations, the ones you get for free, and I decided to sell them door to door for 10p each, which was a lot in the 80s. And rightly so, I got questioned by one person who said, well, why would I pay for something that I'd normally get for free? And so I said, okay, I'll give you this one free sample that you'd normally get for free, but you'd wish you bought more, because this product is so good. If you let me walk away, you're going to end up with nothing, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was 9. She bought 20. How funny that I got into marketing. But all this confidence and sass aside, I was also painfully shy. It was a secret anyone, they didn't really know because I hid it so well. I hid me so well. I remember sometimes when people talked to me, my throat would close. I was so frightened and no voice came out. And so I grew embarrassed. I went bright red. My eyes would stream with tears. And I ended up a quivering wreck in front of people. Where had my voice gone? It felt like it disappeared. The last time this happened was in front of a boy I had a crush on. I remember him having this look of utter horror and confusion on his face as this girl physically clammed up in front of him. And he ran off. Rightly so, I think. But it felt so, I guess, gutting and embarrassing. I decided I never wanted to feel like that again. So what did I do about it? I created my own affirmation. I told myself, I don't get embarrassed. It's impossible. And so, in time, I didn't. This is when I learnt the power of self-control, of having a mantra, and that self-care should be a daily practice. And so the girl with no voice became a public speaker. I became a business owner. I became a published author and poet. I became a marketing director. I got here because I worked my ass off. There's no other secret. I've taken giant leaps of faith. I've taken risks. I go for it. I try new things. And if you don't try, you'll never know. Short story 3, belief system. Every decision I make is based on my belief system, in believing in myself and just giving things a damn good go. I was raised on this. In fact, my mum read me the story of Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur is famous for pasteurisation and the vaccine programme to prevent us from things like rabies and cholera and much more. Now, he hustled, did our Louis, and he worked really hard. He believed in himself despite all the mocking he endured along the way. This was a game changer for me, and I read that very same story to my own 2 children. The story, which is a true one, taught me the power of keeping moving forward. But to be clear, it is okay to fail. I have so many times and I still do, but I'm not afraid of it per se, because it teaches me stuff. Now, here's a question to you. Have you always wanted to do something, really wanted to do something, but you've not taken the first step yet to even get there? And so you've grown frustrated or disappointed or even angry with yourself? Me too. But I'm pleased with the amount of risks I've taken so far, and I have to tell you, for every risk I've taken, I've not once regretted it. Not once. I've regretted not taking risks, because I believe every opportunity starts with one. I use this approach, this kind of risk-taking, go-getting, hard-working approach, to start my own PR company at the age of 23. I left a comfortable job to do this as well, so I was surrounded with skeptics saying, "Are you ready? Are you sure? Can you do this?" And I said, I don't have all the answers, I'm just going to give it my best shot. I started that bedroom No, I didn't. I started the business in the 3rd bedroom of my house and moved it to offices in Covent Garden 2 years later. So I sought the training, I wrote the business plan, I won the funding, I worked my ass off, and I enjoyed it for 5 years before moving on to the next chapter. Told the skeptics, didn't it? So roll the dice. See what happens. Final short story. You're different, darling. Do you ever get told this? I get told it a lot. When I was little, I didn't understand it. As I grew, I felt left out. As a teenager, it felt like being different gave me something to prove whilst promoting the rebel in me, quality I actually like. As a young woman, it felt like pressure. And now I love it. But for every person who is attracted to me for my uniqueness, there's a person who's threatened by it. And if any of this sounds familiar, don't let them burst your bubble. It really is their issue, not yours. So I stand with women, but I have to say, some of my toughest challenges in the workplace have sadly come from other women. And I think the uniqueness thing might be part of it, but I'll never be able to make sense of some of my experience. From being frog marched out of the office in front of everyone, it was a while ago, you just won't be able to do that now, for apparently showing my knicker line, to being manipulated and bullied, to being yelled at down the phone causing a panic attack. Like I said, I'll never be able to make sense of some of it. But once again, I chose to use these experiences to give me extra gumption. You'll never be everyone's cup of tea, but nor should you want to be. You're different, darling. A book, again, as a child that reinforced this was Jane and the Dragon. Jane was wickedly different. She stood out because she chose to stand for what she truly believes in, despite imposed stereotypes. She wasn't afraid of the dragon just like everybody else. She befriended it, and she was the only female knight I knew of. Jane is a role model, a leader, so being different, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. And so I'm going to wrap up with some practical solutions for you. Now, these have really helped me, so my best intention for you guys is that perhaps provides a bit of inspiration for you to take away. Number 1, read, read, read. You'll know now that I've educated myself since I was a child through books, but just like me, I'm sure you don't always have time to sit with a book, so listen to the audio version. It sounds obvious, but listen to podcasts. Get information, inspiration, motivation in bite size on platforms like Pinterest and Instagram, but make it a discipline, make it a daily thing, and get your fix every single day. 2, inspire and be inspired. So I pass on what I learn, but I also seek to learn from others all the time. I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know everything. Be honest, nobody does. And so throughout my career, I've asked women in business who I admire to be my mentor. I've not had a no yet. My current mentor is actually from Stylist magazine. She's the executive director for Style Studios. And I had a massive fangirl moment where my current boss, who knows her, noticed I was fangirling over every post that she put up on LinkedIn, to the point where he said, "Do you just want me to introduce you?" I was like, "Yes, please." And so I asked her to be my mentor. She said yes, and I'm learning so much. So what I'd say to you is, if you admire a woman in business and you want her to be your mentor, stalk her. I'm kidding. Kind of kidding. But no, show engagement, show interest, and just ask. I guarantee she'll be flattered. 3, notice. When you're working with somebody or in a place or on a project or demonstrating a particular skill, notice. Notice how that feels for you. Do you love it? Do you loathe it? Does it drain you? Does it light a fire on the inside? Do you get a good feedback when you're doing it? Notice how that feels and turn up the volume on that good stuff. Dial up your strengths. 4 and 5, develop your own belief system. This is really important because you need to know what you stand for and what you don't. So define what your values are, the stuff that really matters to you in life. Be very clear about what they are. The kind of stuff that if compromised, you ain't happy. And then try to get your fix of these things, even if in a small way, every single day. 5, have a mantra, have 3. Now, we all know by now I love a bit of cheese, but hey, if it works. So I have mantras everywhere in my mind, around my house, at the back of my working notebook, a whole notebook dedicated to mantras. And I change them depending on my mood and needs. But 3 of my favourites right now. Why the hell not? Works very well for me. Dive in. Face it till you make it. I've crossed out fake it because I think, well, maybe don't fake it. If you're lacking in skills or knowledge, just seek more. Face the challenge instead. The last one is you don't grow when you're comfortable, and that constantly pushes me outside my own comfort zone and reminds me to just try and just go for it. And then the final point is dive in, worry later. I tell this a lot to people because it really works for me. So if you just dive in, you find that you're giving it your all and you throw yourself in and end up with a pretty good result most of the time. The worrying bit never really comes in the end. And often the procrastination and anxiety of the whole decision-making process is worse than decision-making itself. So dive in, worry later. These are some resources, so feel free to take a screenshot of this. And I really want to draw your attention to The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That was another game changer for me. And I know I feel like a library. I'm recommending so many books to you, but it really has meant a lot to me and changed my game. Now, this one in particular kind of gives you easy steps of how to set up your day in the best way. There's so many on there that I've recommended to some of the women in this room as well. And some of these are podcasts, so thanks for taking the picture. I promise you won't be disappointed. And speaking of steps, I hope this talk is the first step for you to use your voice. It's a little bit different. I chose to talk about my childhood and things that have shaped me. But I hope through me, you'll use your voice and maybe care less about the stuff that might be holding you back. So if you, here it is, have to be, and that is me, the first person to look and sound like you, so what? Own it. Be the first. Use your voice. Thank you.